like the way she bum, bum, bum.
Play with the secret, scratch, scratch, scratch. Makes me wanna move my body, yeah, yeah, yeah. 'Cause I can't wait.
Steamroller, baby.
Manny Viarrial and Sue Morgan. Manny and Sue.
Ready? Ready. All right. Here with Manny Viarrial, a West Coast Swing Hall of Fame champion. Get to sit down for a conversation and an interview here in Colorado Springs, where Manny now lives. Wanted to just start with question number one, which is how and when did you get started in West Coast Swing?
This started way back in 1980, and I met this lady. I went to a place called, I think it was called The Lift. Anyway, I was just hanging out by myself, and I was watching these people just dance. And I went and asked this lady, her name is Linda Ream, and she says, yeah, they're doing what we call West Coast Swing. I go, West Coast Swing? I said, okay. That's a cool dance. And she said, yeah, you want to try it? I go, well, I don't know the basics, but I can sure give it a shot. So I'm over there, and I'm clumpy, of course, and had no idea what I was doing. And she goes, you know what? It's okay. She was really nice, really sweet lady. She says, you know what? There's a classes going on, and it's at Carter's dance studio. Carter is this gentleman that was Mr. Colorado, and I didn't know that, but he was a bodybuilder. So I said, okay, I'll come to class. So it was off of Havana. I went to classes, and my first instructor was Jean Smith.
Oh.
So Jean Smith, she was cool, but back then I was a rebel. I was like a troublemaker. So I'd be talking a lot in class, and I had this high energy, and she would always have to, Daniel, shh. And then, so I would learn the basics, but I didn't know what was going on between my upper part of the body and the lower part of the body. I had no idea. I was just doing patterns. So that being said, I got hooked on it. And then that's when I met Michael and Amber Cross.
In Denver?
In Denver. Oh. And Michael and Amber were the top couple that represented Carter's dance studio.
Oh.
So way back in the day, I remember that Michael and Amber went to this event. It was called the Nationals Championships, and they won this event. And eventually they changed it to the U.S. Open. Mm-hmm. And that was with Jack and Mary Ann Bridges.
Man, we're going way back.
Yes. So I didn't know that. So I remember dancing with Amber, and I'm pumping my arm, doing all this, and I was pulling her and everything. So she says, you know what, young man, it's going to take you time to learn, but you need to go get coaching. So she never danced with me again. So I was known as, I was active and doing this and this and that, but I didn't know really what I was doing. I was just doing patterns here and there. And by the way, Linda Ream turned out to be Linda Coswell. So Linda Ream and I did a lot of routines when I was going into Carter's dance studio, and we would use the West Coast Swing, and we would do a lot of routines at the Proof. So that was something that I learned from her, because she was really literally my first dance partner. So. Then I met this girl. Her name was Deanna Lee, and it was through Jeff Selman. We were doing West Coast Swing, and we would do a couple of routines here and there. She says, "Well, you know what? I've been invited to do this this dance team. They're dancing at some place up north." I said, okay, and it was at the Merchandise Mart, and it was a hotel right next to the Merchandise Mart. That was on 48th and I-25. Yeah. So I went there and I met this girl named Sue Morgan. In that, okay, well, hey, you want to dance? Dance. So I got up there on the floor and I danced with this young lady named Sue Morgan, right? The first touch of her hand, I said, you're my kind of dancer. We just connected. It was really interesting.
You're like 22, 20?
No, I was actually in my early 30s.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day when I was 20, 21 years old, I was a street dancer. So I would dance by myself. I would go to bars and dance on my own. And I was doing robot. I was doing all this stuff. And I always used to look at Soul Train and American Bandstand way back in the day. So I would mimic people. And then I started to, and this is going back a little bit further back, in 1977, 78, when I graduated, going back to when I really started to dance was I just started to mimic, and then I learned this dance called hustle. And so in 1978, 79, I was in Durango, Colorado. And then I was going to these dances, and I kept learning this by feel. I learned how to spin, I learned how to do all these little things, because I would go every week into Durango, Colorado. So then I started learning hip hop, and I learned the robot, I learned hustle, and I learned all this by visual. There was these two guys that were just amazing, Mark Akins and Christopher Hall. I'll never forget them. They wore painter pants. They kicked my butt every week in these dance contests. And finally I started to just visualize, and within that whole year, I started to kick their butt. So that's how my dancing started, and the competitive thing started. Then I went to Carter's and met Linda, and then I met Tiana, and then I met Sue. And then I was introduced in 1986, 87 to a dance instructor named Karen Lee. And Karen Lee is amazing. She was one of the most amazing competitors. And that's where I met Ennio, and I met Robert Cordoba. So the Cordoba brothers. Karen danced with them in competitions, in Latin competitions. So I was really cool. So a group of people were assembled, and when I walked upstairs at a dance studio called Mr. B's Dance Academy, it was down in Denver off 8th and Tacoma. And I walked upstairs and I met this dance instructor, Mr. B, and he was really nice. But then I met Karen Lee, and she was assembling this group. And I'm nearsighted, so I can't see far. So I was kind of walking upstairs and meeting some people and this and that. And then all of a sudden I saw this lady, this dancer, going up and down the floor doing rumba walks. I can remember what she wore. It was a pink skirt, light skirt, and black leotard. Her hair was pinned back and always in a ponytail, and she was going up and down with these high heels, up and down, while we were over there socializing. It was Sue.
Oh.
So she was part of this group. And so we all assembled. And then Karen taught us the sense of connection to the floor, connection to stretching. We learned samba, cha-cha, hustle, West Coast. We were doing all these dances, and we would go perform them in front of different people. And so it was the neatest thing. So from 87 to 1991, we were doing all these dances. I met Ennio, I met Robert. There was a guy by the name of Felix Chavez. He was a tango guy. He was really good. I met, the great Buddy Schwimmer. And that's where my my life really changed with Buddy Schwimmer.
He was in Denver?
He came as a guest instructor. And then I met the great Laurie Schwimmer. So, I mean, with those two guys, I didn't know what impact they really had in our dance community. All I know is that Buddy was a legend, and so was Laurie. Buddy and Laurie Schwimmer. So they would come in and they would help give us tips to training and so forth between 87 and 91. So then Deanna and I decided, well, you know what? Let's go to the US Open. I didn't know what the US Open was. We did this routine. We put it together ourselves. It was to Olivia Newton-John. It was, I'll have to send you the tape and you can see it what it was. So anyway, I'm getting in this event and we're supposed to also do a team division with Karen and our group. Okay, so Deanna and I went there on a Friday night and it was in the showcase division. There was over 1,000 people in this ballroom and it was pitted. So it was like Disneyland Hotel and it was like we were in an arena. Never forget it. The floor was really slippery because they would have Thanksgiving the day before. And then they would do something to the floor that was really weird. I had no idea who anyone was. So Deanna and I went out in this competition. So we get in this, and then we're doing really good, right? Right toward the end, we did a lift, and I dropped her. And then I tried to recover, tried to do it again, and I dropped her again. By the time it was right toward the end of our routine, I was feeling so low, Tim. It was like the epitome of hitting the ground. And I'll never forget this down. There was a man by the name of Lance Shimon. He was a champion. He used to dance with Mary Ann Nunez way back in 83, 84. He was an amazing champion in the showcase division. He came up to me. He says, Manny, I know this is not going to mean anything to you right now, but you're going to be great. You know, people make mistakes. I made mistakes. You're going to be okay. And he gave me this big hug. I had no idea who he was at the time. So then I went and hid, and I was crying. I remember going out of the convention. I went somewhere close to a highway, underneath the highway, and I cried all night. It was really tough. And then no one knew where I was. And then the next day I had to do the team division, which was Saturday. So I had puffy eyes. I was like, oh, I tried to put some makeup on. It was just really tough. But that was my first experience, my very first experience of knowing what really competition really was. Like I would do little competitions at the bars between 1981 and 91, do this and that, but I never did feel what it was like to have judges there to really go like this to you. I had no idea. Jack and Jill.
Were you doing it?
I think it was. I was doing it more in town than I was. I didn't do it at the US Open, but I remember doing it at other places like San Diego. Remember San Diego? Jack and Jill Rama at that time.
Wow.
Yeah, way back in the day. It was mostly the state championships here in Colorado. And the swing time, it wasn't called swing time at that time.
Yeah.
It was called the Rocky Mountain.
Sometime in the Rockies?
Yes. But that's where I did most of my Jack and Jills between, I would say, 91 to like maybe 94. And then I would go to Phoenix, Greater Phoenix, between 91 and 94. That's where I started doing my Jack and Jills. My first professional Jack and Jill was at in Phoenix. I have a tape of this. Oh my goodness. Kelly Buckwalter.
Oh.
Now, Manuel, I thought Manuel was really good, but I was very humbled quickly. I thought, I'm going to go in the advanced division. I didn't start out a newcomer, novice, intermediate, and then go to advanced. I thought, oh, I'm really good. I didn't know the protocol.
And you could just do that back then, huh?
Well, they saw my dancing and they said, well, we'll just move him in there. Without me realizing that I took that benefit away from myself. It was really stupid on my part. So I drew this girl in the preliminary and I was going like this and swinging my head all over the place. I had a mullet for a hairdo. It was really crazy. And then I got in the finals and I drew Kelly Buckwalter and she was hanging on for dear life. But we still had a good dance and we placed 4th. Once you place in an advanced division, you can't go back down.
Yeah.
So it was advanced and then I immediately went into the champion. Immediately. So because I was starting to progress. So yeah, and then at that point, Tim, I would do Jack and Jill's all the time. I'd be in the invitationals. I would, that's all it was. I couldn't go into the advanced anymore. So from, I would say 91 all the way to today, I do Jack and Jill's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an interesting competition journey, and how it was different back then. You know, I mean, you could just go into advancement.
I know, and that was really actually my fault because I wasn't following the protocol, and I think that these people didn't do their research of my points like they do today. So, you know, I remember someone said we have to have a certain amount of points to get into the advanced division. And I just said, well, hey man, I'm very good. And so someone just said, okay, well, they didn't honor that. I don't know if they knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Because someone warned me, you got to have a certain amount of points before I went into Phoenix. It's my first time I went into Phoenix. And I think it was 92, 93
Okay.
when I went in there. When I started to teach was 94, 95, between 94 and 95. The reason for that is because there was this guy by the name of Richard Parker. And there was, and these are my friends, and there's Karen Parker, and there's Dan Beck, and there's Dee Becker. And then there was Mary Masner, and there was Phil Letts. So these are 4 couples that gave me inspiration to teach. Richard Parker was the one that really, really just said, hey, you know what, you should teach. So I was doing odd and end jobs during that stretch right there in 95. So I started teaching out of his house, Richard Parker. And so people would start coming in and support me. So that's when I started teaching full time. But it was some bumpy roads because it forced me to get a sense of understanding of how to teach a leader and how to teach a follower and how to teach workshops. And I had some bumpy roads at that time, but I eventually started to understand how to prepare.
Eventually, what was it, 2017, they inducted you into the World Swing Dance Council Hall of Fame. Do you remember anything about that process?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can remember it very distinctively. I wasn't even supposed to be there. I had a blood infection that happened to me in October, and I almost died. My wife took me to the doctor, or to the hospital, and that was in Aurora, and they said, something's going on. So they admitted me in the hospital, and I had to be in the hospital for like 3-4 days. Then afterwards, they put a port in my arm. and they said, you know what, you can't do anything for 2 weeks. So that was late October into November. So I got the port out probably about 2 weeks prior to the U.S. Open. I was scheduled to go there. Went on my own dime, the whole works. I was told that I was a recipient, or not recipient.
Nomination.
I was nominated along with John Lindo, and there was a couple other people. There wasn't a for sure deal, so I didn't know. So I said, I'm still going to come. They said, yeah, please come to the U.S. Open. So I went. What happened was I was practicing, and my partner Joanna, who is an amazing partner, Mian, we had this great routine. So we were practicing on Saturday, and she did a duck down, and she went down a little bit more aggressive, and I had a stinger that went right through my right arm. Doctor told me, don't do anything with that arm for at least a month. Well, I didn't listen to that. So people knew that I was hurt, and they thought, well, they were inducting everyone Saturday night, and I came, and I couldn't do anything, so I canceled everything out. I couldn't dance. So I came to that situation that evening, and I was in the back. And then they brought John Lindo out, and Jim Tiggins was the one that was announcing. So then after they did that, then they started reading out my biography. And I was going, oh my goodness, they are going to induct me. So I was like waiting, and then they said, Manny Viarrial. Unfortunately, Manny cannot be here because of an injury. And I went with my left hand, hello? I went like this, hello? And then everyone looked, and then they go, oh, it's Manny. And I was nicely dressed with a white shirt, red tie, and a black suit. Went out there and said, oh, Manny Viarrial. And then everyone rose.
Nice.
It was the most beautiful feeling. And then when I got on the mic, I said, thank you, Heavenly Father, for this gift. I love you, honey, my wife. And I thanked everyone in the crowd. And the reason why I got that Hall of Fame is because my colleagues were the ones that voted me in. And so it says on my U.S. Open, outstanding participation of a dancer paying it forward, being appropriate, having humility, love and respect for the community is the reason why my colleagues voted me in. And then it was really cool because then Robert Royston got into the Walk of Fame. Oh. So it was very special that all three of us got recognized for our achievements throughout our whole career.
Nice.
It was a great feeling, Tim.
That's awesome.
Great feeling.
Beautiful story.
Yeah.
Well, so what a rich dance history you have, starting out like a street dancer in the late 70s and the 80s, and then fast forward all the way through that time, you became a full-time dancer, and now you travel sometimes, right? You travel here and there, and of course you judge at some of the local events here in Colorado. Colorado Country Classic, 5280, Swing Time.
There was also Rocky Mountain 5.
Rocky Mountain 5, yeah.
Right, that was with Gil Lopez.
Yes, I remember that. What are you doing these days?
Well, I still teach, right? Being in Colorado Springs, I am going to be going to 5280, and I'm going to be going to Swing Time in the Rockies. I think that Kyle and Sarah have done a really great job. I always want to be a part of that to pay it forward, because at one time I was always doing lots of pro-ams. I kind of want to get back into that, but for right now I do maybe 50% 50% of teaching now. I go to selective events such as, and I'm hoping I'm still going to go to this one, Michael Kielbasa has See the Sky. Cheryl Lyons has an event that goes on. I mean, it's a really good event. Cheryl Lyons does a great job. And then, of course, I'm going to go support Hader, 5280. So these are the local events I want to attend, and there's probably about maybe 3-4 events I go to. There's Mountain Magic, Michelle Kincaid, amazing director, just love her to death. And there's Beth and Bruce, Florida Magic. They're not having it this year, but they're going to have it next year. That's in Florida. There's probably just a couple more that I'm going to go to, but not very many. And then the other thing I do, if I'm not teaching, is I do interior painting. So that's my new hobby, to go and paint inside homes, all the walls and accent colors and all that good stuff.
Nice, artistic.
Yes.
Nice. And when did you start doing that?
I started painting about maybe it was right before the pandemic happened.
Oh, good on. So
Yeah. Recent.
Yeah.
Other than that, I usually go help my wife with her business.
Oh.
She's an independent sales rep, and so she does a lot of inventory, and then she orders different product from places like Garden of the Gods, Manitou Springs, Cape of the Winds. There are places up in Estes Park that she goes to. One in particular is called Gateway. These are just stores that have all these gift items. And so what she'll do, she'll go in, she has like 60 some lines of product, and then she'll order things, or she'll ask those vendors, hey, do you want this, 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 this? She orders it for the store, and then she goes and puts it out. So I go and help her with that.
Speaking of your lovely wife, you guys competed together
Yeah.
for a while. I know there's something out there on YouTube, and
Well, I was keeping rolling.
Probably my 4th or 5th partner.
in what division? Was it showcase?
We went in and we did classic,
Okay.
and we would go up against Robert Cordoba, Robert Royston. There was some intensity going on there.
Yeah.
There was Charlie and Jackie. Oh, they were awesome. Jordan and Tot. I mean, you can go on. It was some pretty big names. Mario Robau. Oh my God, that guy was just amazing.
Yeah.
So you're talking the big icons of our sport that put the path of our road for the people today in our generation.
Now, Sue didn't necessarily continue with West Coast Swing like you did.
Right. So Sue had a full-time job. She said, you know what? I think the last time we competed was 2003, and then her job took over.
Yeah.
To where she said, you know what, honey, go ahead and dance with someone else, sort of thing. So then I went and had other multiple partners at that point.
You mentioned dances besides West Coast Swing that you learned early. Did you ever get very far into those, or did you teach them? Or
I did. It was obviously hustle. There was nightclub two-step. There was country two-step I learned on my own. But I would look at Kristen Guile, or Kristen Ham at this time, and looked at Rex Jones and see how they did it, Robert Royston, Lorene Baldovi, and I would just kind of look and see and and so I learned that. I know the foxtrot, waltz, tango, with almost all forms of the dance, salsa. I love salsa, so I would compete in salsa, hustle, nightclub, and West Coast Swing. A little bit of two-step, but not much. But those were the 4 dances that I would really compete with my pro-ams. And or at Michelle Kincaid's event, they have one called Triple Challenge. And there are 4 dances that you have to dance. And that is two-step, West Coast, hustle, and nightclub. And so of those 4 dances, you get judged, and then you then get a total score from those people, and you get someone random. It's Jack and Jill. It's random. And then if you can score it, then you win. And I just won the triple challenge last November.
Last November.
That was with Jeannie Tucker, and that was one of my partners.
Oh, where was this?
That was at Mountain Magic.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Um,
A matter of fact, with in the Jack and Jill, I drew Cameo Cross in the Invitational, and we just tore it up. We took second place, and it was just, we had a standing ovation. I very rarely do you get standing ovations,
yeah.
but that was loud. The other time I remember that was with Sarah Van Drake, and we did the Invitational Swing Time. It was all my friends were there, and we won the Invitational.
Nice.
It was really cool. Very rarely do you get those standing ovations, but when you do, you embrace them.
Yeah, for sure. Speaking of Cameo Cross, I heard something about you used to babysit her.
Yeah. Her and Lance, her brother, I would go and hang out with them. And, but I mostly would see him at competitions. And I remember Cameo, there's a little video of Cameo and I dancing. And she's this little, teeny little, but she was so sweet. And to see her grow up, and she's with, Ben McKinley is awesome. And I'm glad that she's happy with that. But Mike and Amber, we became really good friends, and they trusted me to embrace those moments with Cameo and Lance. Now they're adults and they're doing their things. But yeah, those were memories that I'll always cherish. Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you about the evolution of West Coast swing, but if you wanted to say more about anybody that influenced you or mentors you looked up to in your journey.
I'll try to keep it brief, because I know I have so much excitement about everyone and the memories I have with each person. So Linda and Deanna, shout out to them. Greatly appreciate their partnership. There's Gina Tucker. So was Deanna and Jeannie. Jeannie was an amazing professional. I learned a ton from her, just from the fact of being professional, preparing for competitions, getting a sense of understanding of what politics are and so forth. She was an amazing partner for me, and we did extremely well. We placed 3rd and 4th in Classic in 93 and 94.
Now, is that at the Open?
That's the Open. Yeah, she was amazing. Then I went to Lynn, and then we placed, I think it was in the top 8 in Classic and in Showcase. No, just Classic, I'm sorry. And then after Lynn was my wife, Sue. And in 1997, we did a cabaret, rumba. I forgot, that's another dance I did, rumba. And we placed 4th in a cabaret, which was incredible. And then the other dancer that I danced with was Debbie Figueroa. But Debbie Figueroa was insane. And Bernard at the time. And she was just started dating Angel, Bless You Angel. And we did this routine in the Classic division. We should have gotten the finals, and we didn't. But I have never danced a clean dance more so with power and speed than with Debbie Bernard. I always want to call her Figueroa. She was an amazing partner. And then I started to then dance with Sue, and then in 2001 won the US Open Sophisticated Swing Championships. So that's when the big thing came. And I would rather win it with my wife than anything. And then afterwards, respectively, I danced with Dee Becker. Amazing, amazing person. I enjoyed every moment with Dee Becker. Andrea Deaton, it was amazing. She's impeccable. And then I went and danced with Jeannie Tucker again. And Jeannie and I did a sophisticated swing. We took 2nd, should have been 1st. There was a controversy on that. But she was amazing. And then finally, my last partner was Joanna Leon. And I didn't get a chance to do a routine with her because of my arm.
Mm-hmm.
But she was absolutely a pleasure to dance with. She is so respected. And then one person that really motivated me, Mary Ann Nunez. And I want this tape, I want her to see this tape. Mary Ann Nunez took me into a ballroom at Reno Sensation for 3 hours and shared her gift with me and said, if you want to get in the Hall of Fame, this is how you do it. And I'll never forget those 3 hours. I mean, she is a Christian lady who is like my sister. I give her all the credit to where I am today. But I mean, the coaches that I've had, I want to make sure this is on tape, can't say enough about Buddy and Laurie Schwimmer. Even Benji would inspire me so much. I have so much regard for him and Lacey. I mean, those are the people. And then there's Mario. There is Robert Royston. I love Robert. There is Lorene. I just adore her. And so I can go on and on to these people that really were the nucleus of where I am today. And then all my partners that I told you about. I want to make sure that I pay tribute to Barry Jones. Barry Jones was another influence on me that really, especially in the Hall of Fame. Ginger Picaro would always inspire me. Even though we didn't dance together at that time, she would always be that beautiful gift. Mm-hmm. And then there was Michelle Kincaid, there was Michelle French, and I can go on and on to these people, but I mean, to make me an overall dancer like this, those professionals gave me the tools necessary to be who I am today.
Shaking you.
Yes. Okay. Now I get a little emotional there, sorry.
That's awesome. No, It's great to pay tribute. You've had an opportunity to watch West Coast Swing evolve over time, and it's become clear that West Coast Swing is the evolution dance. It changes with time, it changes with music. And so I think that's one of the things everybody loves about it and gets hooked on it. But you've witnessed it yourself, and you've witnessed it as a competitor and a judge, and as just an observer. So I was wondering, do you have any thoughts on how it's evolved and where it's evolving to, positive or otherwise?
Well, it's always going to be positive, Tim, because I mean, generations change. When I came into the scene in 1980, when I first started West Coast Swing, it was always about ripple, arm, prep, right? Mm-hmm. And then in 1980, from 1981, 86, I could see that things were starting to be a little bit more condensed, a little bit more quiet. 1991 to say 2001, I can see that Robert Royston and Lorene changed the dynamic a little bit for more rap and turns. Let's see, Don Borsted and Barry Duran, they brought the country scene in. But Barry Jones came in with his type of style. It was more hustle style that changed the dynamic in between 91 and 2001. He was extremely good and influenced like Mario, all the people from Texas, what I'm trying to say. They interjected their style. But then in 2001 to say 2010 or something like that, Jordan Frisbee and Tatiana had a little bit more slow, and a 1 and a 2 and a 3. And so it changed that situation. But they were still doing a simple basic with power and speed. Then the young kids started to come in. I mean, even Benji Schwimmer, he just has a little bit more dynamic 3D. And I love that about him, because one thing about Benji is he never strays away from what he learned from his parents. But what he does is he just says, I'm going to bring it out through here. Jordan taught you the same thing. And all these other people, Kyle and Sarah, they had a true sense of what swing really was. And it still is. But now you have, from 2010 to 2023, you have more of an impromptu. There's not that much of basic. It's more of, I'm going to do it, my basic in my body, or I'm going to do a trick. The guys will say, I'm going to be the pole, and you ladies are going to do the triples, and you're going to do the tricks. So now it's all about tricks. Do I like it? You know what? I got to revolve with it. Yes, I like it in a certain sense, but the music is not really, to me, telling me what West Coast swing really is. I truly think they should take the style of today and put it as a cabaret swing. Cabaret-ish. So they can do anything and everything. And then get the classic division, showcase division, into a traditional swing. Not to take anything away from anyone, but there will be something for that generation, and then something for the generation of what we call West Coast swing. Triple, triple, walk, walk, triple, triple, right? So we can never change that, Tim. But what we can do is we can embrace what they're doing, learn from it. But for me personally, I'm always going to be doing my triples. I'm always going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, because I want to feel it from my floor all the way up. Now, if I'm going to do a trick, I'll go 1, 2, 3, and 4, say with the example cameo. And I'll go like this, and I'll lay her out, and then I'll do the trick. And then she comes up, and then she goes out, and then I'll triple out. But if you look at Mary Ann Nunez and I, and you could put a clip of how long a full goes long, that's the song. You'll see what West Coast swing really is, and what an action and reaction is between her and I.
I remember, I saw that one. Yeah.
And that's what really, I think swing really is because you can still step out of the box, but you can also step back in the box and say, let's give them some rhythm. Let's inspire people to move their feet. Let's inspire people to move their body.
Yeah.
So you can do all that and still keep the same and mix everything in on what's happening today than what happened back in the day.
Beautiful. Thank you. We did touch on you being a judge. I know you a lot from being a judge because
Sorry.
I can't get out of noise. No. But,
I'm sorry.
But of course I see you here in Colorado. And you judge a lot of local events, and I'm guessing elsewhere, which kind of also ties in with one of our last questions. Is so you see what's going on, yeah, and you see the changes over the years. So what you're judging today is totally different from what you were judging 10 years ago,
right,
or 15. But kind of related to that is if you had to pick one thing, or maybe two, that would help all of us, competitors and otherwise, be better West Coast swing dancers, what would you say?
Well, the way I look at things today, when I see people dance today, I see a sense of disconnection sometimes. I see the leader having an agenda, and the follower is trying to understand what that agenda is. So for me personally, I think the first thing that I would say is have a better sense of communication to what that lady is trying to follow and what the follower is trying to communicate to the leader. What I mean by that is that the follower is wanting to have a sense of rhythmical, understanding what that person's doing, say within a pattern. If I do a sugar push and I go 1, 2, tap, but there's nothing happening here, it goes 1, 2, tap, and I push the follower, then the follower is going to all of a sudden get a red flag, right? That's what normally happens. If my mind, and I used to do this a long time ago in the day, where I would just say, I'm going to do pattern after pattern after pattern. So the follower, at that time, I didn't understand what the follower was going through. It's like they're just trying to just catch up, right?
Yeah.
So I used to do that way back in the day, and that's why I remember Amber Cross says, go get coaching, because I don't want you to pull me and push me and hurt me, right? It wasn't to be mean. She was doing me a favor.
Yeah.
And then now today, when I dance with Amber Cross, she goes, man, you feel like butter. I love it. And so we have fun, right? So that's what my goal is and just take myself out as a champion. I'm just a normal social dancer. My goal is to, first of all, establish a relationship with my partner. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to do something simple to her. I'm going to say, let me do a nice sugar push. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then I'm going to stop and I'm going to kind of see what that music's telling me to do. And I'm going to take her for a ride. So I'm going to pretend like I'm the ocean and she's the boat, and I'm going to take her with me. What happens is that today our leaders, and not saying all leaders, I'm just saying some, will say, I have an agenda and I want you to follow that agenda. The followers say, well, wait a minute, can I have time to do something for me? Because sometimes if you're not trying to work with me, and instead you're working against me, then all I'm going to do is I'm going to tighten up my arm and I'm going to pull back and I'm going to hang on for dear life. That's not what we want in a social situation. So what I do is, even when I do masters and I get some young lady who says, I'm afraid. I said, oh, don't be afraid. I'm not going to hurt you. That's what I say. So when they feel my connection, they feel a not noodle, but not tense. They feel that I take care of them and that I sacrifice my moves that I work, or I saw Jordan do, that I saw Kyle do, or I saw Robert Royston do. What I do is I go and I dance to their level, not to my level. I come down to this level.
So for a competitor like me or others that are a novice trying to hit, trying to progress, intermediate, trying to progress,
Right.
etc. What would your advice boil down to?
I can tell you exactly. If you're trying to progress in points, less is more. Do less, so it comes up more. What I want, if I'm progressing like you, I wish I would have done that back in the day, is I want those judges to see that I have a clean basic and that I'm attaching to my partner. And if they see that we're one with each other, instead of me trying to force something to happen, because I know that follower is probably going to be tense. I already know that. Everyone that gets on the dance floor is going to be tense because they're trying so hard to impress a judge. The judges are I'm looking at, what are you doing in your feet? What are you doing to your, what is the follower doing? Are you guys in sync with each other? Are you just standing there and you stop and there's no basic that I'm recognizing? Because when I judge from the floor up. I say, okay, let me see what kind of basic he's doing. 1, 2, tap, then I start to count with you. If I don't see a rhythmical, a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4, and it's just 1, 2, stop, 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 and then I see arms trying to move that partner, and then the partner's doing this, then is say that you're in a preliminary and I'm looking at that partner, they're not matching to matching, and I'm judging a leader. I'm saying, well, he's first of all not giving her what she's needing. He's out of my top 10, or he's out of my top 15. But if I see an example with you, and you're giving a 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, and 6, and you're doing a simple, basic left side pass, underarm turn, tuck, and then all of a sudden you do a nice little cool move that you learned from Manny Viarrial in a day. And it's like a slingshot. And then you're going slingshot, slingshot, and then you bring her in, and then you relax by letting that partner go, oh, let me feel what's going on, because then all of a sudden you heard something in the music. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at your feet, relationship from the partner and what she's responding, and then I'm saying, what is he hearing in the music? Is the music telling him to do that? Mm. And in all probability it is. But if it's not rolling and a 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 within that nice basic footwork or pattern that you're doing, and it's disconnected from that partner, or it could be the other way around. The partner could be taking over so much on you and you're going, wait a minute, are you trying to communicate to me and I'm not reading you? Mm-hmm. Or she can be heavy, or she can be like this and that. So when I look at people, I look at the relationship first, Tim. And then when I look at the relationship, I say, okay, there's something that's not happening because that guy's looking this way, and that lady's looking that way, or that guy's looking down, that lady's looking up. There's no relationship. You have to be able to say, hi, how are you? Let's dance together. That's the reason why you dance with someone, is to say, I want to have that relationship for that moment so we can tie in as one. Okay. But if there's not, if these guys cannot bend like that and they're going like this, then there's something going on, whether it's in the connection, whether it's in the feet, whether it's in an emotional state of mind, and that's where disconnections happen.
So teamwork is pretty important.
Teamwork is very important.
Even in prelim.
You betcha.
Okay.
When I'm in a preliminary, I'm always about the partner. I remember one time, Tim, just real briefly, my wife says, if you cannot dance with me, honey, then go dance by yourself. I did. And it wasn't fulfilling. It wasn't fulfilling.
How about that?
It's like, so I came back to her and I said, darling, you know what? I want to dance with you. She goes, okay, then dance with me. I go, okay, so what do you want me to do, honey? Look at me. Give me something. I remember one time when our coach, Jeff Narabas, that's another coach that really helped Sue and I in our rumba. He's out of Minneapolis. Great coach. He did an exercise with my wife and I. She was on one side of the floor at Mr. B's Dance Academy, and I was on the other side. Bring Sue to you. So I was doing this. and Sue was just going like this. So then Jeff went over there, and Jeff went like this. He went, and he pulled his, because he had a good frame, pulled his energy up, and Sue went like this. And I just looked at that, and I got, my ego got, spiked out, right? It got hit. I went and I walked off the floor and I went and cried. Why can I not do that for my wife? So now when I do that with my wife, I go, she goes, that's called energy. That's called communicating with each other, right? That's what they're looking for. We're looking for not fancy. We're looking for an energy and a connection with your partner.
Okay. Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you would like to mention, or any passions or charitable interests or anything related to West Coast swing, or just your interest? Anything else that maybe I should have asked you? Or?
Oh no, this is good. Well, Tim, this is not to boast. We talk about us being Christians. Mm-hmm. And so God has really gifted me with something that a lot of people would just die to have. Giving to the community is probably the most important thing for me. I've done that with Colorado Country Classic. I've done that with 5280, state championships, Rocky Mountain 5 with my brother Gil. When I go to events, I don't charge outrageous rates for them to bring me in. So that's my way of helping organizers. God has gifted me with 2 Hall of Fames. One in 2010 and one in 2017. God has given me the honor to be the most improved dancer, right? No, what was it, 1994, right? I was on the cover of magazines, a couple of magazines. I'll send those to you. Really, really an honor. These accolades, winning over 300 titles in my career, and I look at that and I say, okay, it wasn't really for me, Tim. It was really for my partners. My partners is the one I want them to experience that. That is my opportunity to pay it forward to them. When I go to any event, my whole goal is to pay it forward to dance with a newcomer, a novice, an intermediate, advanced, whatever it is, because that is my goal. So this is my summarizing of all the things that we talked about today. With all the coaches that have helped me, they were paying it forward to me, and I know that they would say this, now pay it forward to someone else. And that's the thing. Charitable wise, I would always give my heart and soul to the young youth. You can talk to Buddy and Laurie Schwimmer on this very thing. I would always support the kids from St. Louis, from California, back in the day, in the 90s. That was when Jordan Tucker was just growing up. Jessica Cox and the twins, Nicole and Hannah. Now they're stars. Cameo, we talked about Cameo the other day. Just as examples, even all my clientele that was in Denver, all the couples that I worked with, I always try to pay it forward to them. No matter what I can do, I give my heart and soul to those people. But I chose to do it. To this day, that's what I want to do too, is always pay this thing forward, because even when I paint, I try to give people breaks. I try to do the best of my ability, because that's what my fabric is humbling and genuine, showing a sense of humility for people in general. So I think other than that, I just have to say that my prize now is my lovely wife, Sue. That is my everything.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Man, thank you.
Thank you, my brother.
Yeah.
I appreciate you.
Leroy Brown.